We today are factoring quadratics. This is part 1. We will do part 2 next week. Today we are factoring quadratic trinomials, which have a degree of 2 and 3 terms. So quadratic means degree of 2. Trinomial means 3 terms. Okay, we are factoring. When we factor, we are taking our polynomial and we want to turn it into a multiplication problem. So the polynomials that we start with are going to look like this. They are going to be ax squared plus bx plus c. That is standard form. A, b, and c are just there in the place of numbers for right now. Okay, once we get them factored out, they are going to be 2 sets of parentheses, and in each set of parentheses is going to be x plus a number times x plus a number. So I'm just going to put x plus blank, x plus blank. So our goal with the problems we're solving today, you're going to be doing exactly what you guys did at the boards. You're going to be saying, okay, I need to find two numbers that multiply to 36 and add to 12. Once you find those two numbers, you fill in the blanks with them. That's it, okay? It's just a matter of figuring out what the puzzle you're solving is and then solving the puzzle. Okay, before we get into factoring, I want to show you guys why this works with something we've already done before. So we already multiplied binomials by binomials. I want to show you one of these and what we're doing essentially. So I'm going to take this x plus 10. I'm going to put it on the left side. I'm going to take this x minus 4. I'm going to put it across the top. Okay, then I'm going to put my imaginary ones in. So I'm going to make this x to the first and x to the first. And then I am going to start multiplying. So x to the first times x to the first is x squared. X to the first times negative 4 is negative 4x to the first. Bottom left corner, 10 times x to the first is 10x to the first. And then the bottom right corner is negative 40. So this is exactly what we did in 5.4 when we multiplied. Okay, once we multiply, we're going to want to combine like terms and write our final answer. So x squared will stay by itself. When we go to combine, this 10 and this negative 4 will combine together. 10 minus 4 is 6, so we end up with 6x. That can be 6x or 6x to the first. They mean the same thing. And then my minus 40 can go at the end. Hey, so this is what you guys did in 5.4. You guys took a problem that looked like this, you multiplied it out and got a problem that looked like this. That's what you did in 5.4. What you're doing today in 5.6 is you're taking this problem and you're getting it back into this form. That's what you're doing today in 5.6. So we're going to give you a problem that looks like this. X squared plus 6x minus 40. You have to figure out that 10 and negative 4 are the two numbers that added together to be 6, And then 10 and negative 4 are the two numbers that multiply together to be negative 40. So those problems you just solved at the board, when we say what multiplies to this and adds to this, that's what we're doing. Okay, so here are your steps put into words for you. We'll put this here and then it happens again on the back. We need to find two numbers that multiply to equal the last number, and they need to add together to equal the middle number. So they have to multiply to equal the last number. They have to add to equal the middle number. Once we figure out those numbers, we can write them down as x plus whatever the first one is, x plus whatever the second one is. Those are also interchangeable. So like 5 and 7 is the same as 7 and 5. And then if we wanted to, we could double check these all using multiplication. All right, flip this puppy over. And we've got this table here that's going to give us a rule or rules on when we're going to use positive and negative numbers, which is going to help us a lot. So the two numbers that you can choose, they can be positive or negative. They could both be positive, both be negative, one of each. But they have to follow those two rules that we just gave you. So they have to multiply to equal the last number, and they have to add to equal the middle number. So we've got a little table here. We're adding to equal the middle number. We're multiplying to equal the last number. We are going to give you a list of when you use each side. So when they should both be positive, both be negative, one positive, one negative, one negative, one positive. So if we need to add together to be a positive number and we need to multiply together to be a positive number, we are going to pick two numbers that are both positive. So that's going to be our first example. The 5 in the middle is positive, and the 6 at the end is positive. Oh, sorry, you can't see that. I'm pointing to it. So that plus 5 and plus 6, those are both positives. That's what we mean there. If we need to add together to be a negative number and multiply together to be a negative number, which is our second example here, the x squared minus x minus 20, we are going to have to pick one positive and one negative. I'm going to write down 1 plus slash 1 minus. If we need to, our third one, x squared minus 8x plus 12, if we need to add together to be negative and multiply together to be positive, the other way that we multiply together to be positive is if both of our numbers are negative. Okay. And then the last option of things we could need is if we needed to add to be positive, but multiply to be negative, Again, the only way to multiply to be negative is one positive and one negative. So those are the 4 options of what can happen, depending on whether the numbers that you're going to add together or the numbers that you're multiplying are positive or negative. Hey, so we will use that table as we go through our examples. Let's get started with our examples. Everybody got that table copied done? Anybody still need it? Hey, so our first example, we've got x squared plus 5x plus 6. On these examples, I am going to show you all of the work that I could possibly show you. And then on your assignment, you can show me as much or as little work as you need to. You have to have your answer written out. But if you need to do your factor tree, do it. If you don't, fine. We need to find 2 numbers that multiply to equal the last number. So that's going to be multiply to 6. So right up here, I'm going to write multiply and 6. And then they also need to add together to be the middle number. So over on the other side right here, just because there's space, I'm going to write add 5. So 2 numbers that multiply together to be 6 and add together to be 5. Okay, so you might know these ones right off the top of your head. If you do, great. And if you were doing this on your assignment, you wouldn't need to write out all your factor pairs. I want to show you that you can write out all your factor pairs if you need to find them. So the numbers that multiply together to be 6 are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. All right, then we can use our little table. We need to add to be positive and multiply to be positive. So if we're adding to be positive and multiplying to be positive, we want to pick 2 numbers that are both positive. So if you want to write a little note to yourself somewhere that says both positive, that's going to help you. You can. Okay, and then which of these pairs of numbers, 1 plus 6 or 2 plus 3, which of those add together to be 5? Okay, so 2 and 3. So 2 plus 3 is 5. So we're going to write this down in our factored form. It'll be x plus 2 and x plus 3. And that's it. So only piece that you need for your answer is this x plus 2 times x plus 3. This is your answer. All of this extra stuff is us showing our work, and you can show as much or as little of that as you need to. So we solved the same puzzle we solved up at the boards. What 2 numbers multiply together to be 6, add together to be 5. Once we pick those numbers, we write it like this. It would also be okay if your answer was x plus 3 times x plus 2. A times B is the same as B times A. Multiplication, you can switch like that. Okay. Next one, we've got x squared minus x minus 20. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put an imaginary 1 right here. I need to know that there's an imaginary negative 1 right there. So I need to find 2 numbers that multiply to my last number. So they need to multiply to negative 20. And they need to add together to be negative 1. So they multiply to the last, add to the middle. All right, using my little table, if I need to add to a negative and multiply to a negative, that's my second row. I made your table go in order. So negative, negative. I need two numbers. One's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. We'll put down 1 plus, 1 minus. Okay, numbers that multiply together to be 20. I know you guys might know the answer already. I want to list them all in our notes, though. So 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 3 and, does 3 go into 20? No? 4 and 5. Okay. Here is something that I haven't covered yet that I want to cover now. Because I wanted you guys to have numbers to see. When you talk about which one we make negative, we need to multiply together to be a negative. So one of these has to be negative. We want to add together to be negative. So if we want to add to be negative, we want our more powerful ones to be negative. So we want our bigger ones to be negative. So I'm going to go ahead and make all of my bigger ones be negative. And I'm going to add to this 1 plus 1 minus. I'm going to add bigger negative. So if you need to add to be negative, you want your bigger one to be negative. Now, which of those add together to be negative 1? 4 and 5. 4 and negative 5. So our answer is going to be x plus 4 times x minus 5. So the 4 is a plus, the 5 is a minus. So we're solving that puzzle. Find two numbers that multiply to the last, add to the middle. Just like you guys solved the puzzle at the boards. Okay, I want to hop back up to my table and add in that extra thing that we just figured out, which is that if I need to add to be negative and multiply to be negative, it's 1 positive, 1 negative. The bigger one is going to be negative. So I'm going to write down big minus. Which means that if I'm going to add to be positive and multiply to be negative, that means the bigger one needs to be positive. So I'm going to add that here too. Okay, finishing out our last two examples then. So x squared minus 8x plus 12. What number do I need to multiply to be? I need to multiply to be my last, so what do I need to multiply to be? 12. Okay, thank you, John. Somebody else. I need to add to my middle, so what do I need to add to be? Negative 8. So I need to multiply to 12, add to negative 8. Since I am multiplying to be positive, but adding to be negative, that's the third row in my table, I want two numbers that are both negative. So we can just make them all negative as we're listing them. So my multiples of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 3 and 4. Okay. Then I need to make them both negative. So I'm going to make everybody negative. No. Okay. Which of those numbers add together to be negative 8? 2 and 6. So negative 2 plus negative 6 is negative 8. Awesome. So my answer on this one is x minus 2 times x minus 6. Somebody's. Okay. Let me send this to someone who was just asking for it. Gmail, Hangout. All right. Last one we've got on here. We've got x squared plus 5x minus 24. We need to multiply to the last. So we need to multiply to negative 24. We need to add to the middle. So we need to add together to be 5. Okay, multiplying together to be 24. My multiples of 24, there's a lot of them, so I'm just going to go through them for the sake of time. 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Okay, I need to add to be a positive. So I want my big ones to be positive. I want to make my little ones negative. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 I'll make negative. Yep. And then the ones of those that add together to be 5 are negative 3 and positive 8. So I've got x minus 3 times x plus 8. Ooh, and I guess I could have written this in. I said it, I didn't write it though. So we needed 1 positive, 1 negative, and we wanted our bigger one to be positive. All right, so on these notes, we wrote in a lot of extra stuff. I want you to write in or think about the extra stuff that is helpful to you. So if the table is helpful, use it. If it's not helpful, don't. Because even if you don't use the table, there's still only going to be one set of numbers that multiply to this and add to this, okay? I would recommend at least writing in these things so you know what your goal is. But once you write in your goal, from there, if you can just go from there, that's completely fine. Okay, we got 20 minutes left. I'm going to stop this video. You guys will have 20 minutes to work on your assignments. Whatever you guys don't get done, we'll send with you.